and show he is, because he leads Cassie down there purely to kill her.
Yeah. Yeah, weirdly enough, that's a child being lured down to be killed. And
that is a good thing as well, yeah, so...
Hello? Oh, it's you. I'm glad you could make it. I was told you were lazy, but what does William know? He's all talk, Henry's the brains, and of course there's Edwin. But I haven't seen him in a good while. Wonder what he's up to. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. Here's a few tasks for you tonight. Sit back, relax, and get yourself a bucket of popcorn with that so good exotic butters. I hope you're settled, as tonight's shift is going to be full of twists and turns. So get your flashlights at the hand and make sure to check the vents, as no theory will be left unturned. Oh, and one final thing.
I always come back. I always come back. I always come back.
What's up, everybody? My name is Patrick Icky Jr., and I'm the voice of Phone Guy and the PA announcer in Five Nights at Freddy's Into the Pit, and you are listening to the SpringLocked Podcast. Hello?
Hey everyone, welcome back to the SpringLocked Podcast. And today, as usual, I'm with Ollie, as is our joint account. And today, our topic is going to be a bit varied. There's not like one specific thing. But we're sort of going over like the what ifs, misconcepts, and sort of just some like vague, I guess, would you say like questions surrounding certain topics in FNAF?
Yeah, confusing stuff that no one, if you're just like a casual fan of Five Nights at Freddy's, you might have heard some of these words thrown around, but you don't actually really know what it is.
Yeah, 100%.
So we're going to try and clear a few things up, maybe.
To the best of our ability. Yeah.
Right.
What thing do you want to start with? Do you want to give one of the things we've got written down?
I think we'll start with Remnant and get that out of the way, and then we can reply to some of the comment questions as well.
So, like we said in the last podcast episode, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. If there's anything you want us to do a video on, or just anything you want us to like explain. Like we have I'd say we both have like a good knowledge on FNAF. Maybe not so much on the books too much. Like I've read the majority of them, but like if you ask me to in detail describe them, I probably couldn't do that to the same ability of the games. I don't know if that's the same with you, but
100%.
But like we will do the best for our ability. And obviously, on the question on the screen now is a question we were asked on our previous podcast episode. And that was basically asking to sort of explain Remnant. So I think we should probably go off more what the game Remnant is, rather than the books. Obviously, it was first like announced as a thing in the books, I believe, because I don't know where the word Remnant came from prior. I believe it was the novels. Like the Silver trilogy, I think. Then it was reused quite a few times in the Fazbear Frights. But do you want to explain what Remnant is, and then I'll go on to like Agony and stuff like that?
Yeah, so I think it had a really big. Well, it wasn't big, but you'd like unlock it as like a XP currency in FNAF AR.
Yeah, you would. Yeah, it
was something like that.
FNAF AR was such a weird game. Sorry, I'm not trying to cut from the flow, but like
I think that is sort of where most people probably know it from, to be honest. Either that or just hearing it thrown around. Yeah. But Remnants, I think it was first spoken about in the book, so that would have been around FNAF 4 to Sister Location, maybe?
Yeah, I think it was the Silver
maybe slightly after.
It was
something like that. But that's basically this game's way of how it possesses the children, sort of thing. So, like, if you just think of any other ghost thing, they might have their own way of, like, the way the people get possessed or how a ghost is there. In this game, it's Remnants, and that's Remnants is formed of agony and pain and stuff, which is why William has this.
Like sources it, doesn't he? Like,
yeah.
The stronger the Remnant is, the higher the agony. So a lot of people have the misconception that agony and Remnant are the same thing, whereas it's actually like agony fuels the Remnant. So like the stronger the Remnant, the stronger the agony. Hence why we see in Ultimate Custom like how Golden Freddy doesn't want William to leave.
Mm-hmm.
His Remnant's the strongest. I'd say he's probably the strongest Remnant we've seen. Period in the game lore. I don't think we've seen any of that level. So like agony is what fuels Remnant. So like that's why. Let's say the give cake, give life minigame, happiest day. Sorry, when the souls are free, that is Remnant being freed. So like that means there's not a lot of agony because agony is fueling the Remnant. So when they're given the happiest day, it's obviously a good memory, isn't it? So it sort of counteracts the agony. So therefore the Remnant's not fueled and therefore they're not possessing it. That the souls are free. So like Remnant is what's trapping the souls and the agony is what's fueling the trap. So like agony's the key. If you have an agony, you have no key to unlock the Remnant. But if you have agony, you're trapped, aren't you? So like it's that's why William used it, because people started theorizing, didn't they, that he started tinkering with Remnant to bring back his son.
Elizabeth.
Trials and stuff, wasn't it? Yeah, Elizabeth, and then it was Evan or Crying, whatever you want to call him. But it's odd.
But this, that pretty much answers as well, in Sister Location, why he's got this whole sort of, like, setup of this FNAF 4 house torturing kids or torturing children and stuff, because, that's where the Remnants are coming from. He's getting loads from that. And, that's, the Sister Location animatronics are built to capture, kids, probably to put in this torture facility, which is pretty much farm Remnants and agony and stuff.
Yeah, it's literally just a torture facility, wasn't it? The FNAF 4. The FNAF, sorry, when we say the FNAF 4 house, we mean the one that you're playing in.
Not the gameplay house.
Story one.
Yeah, and that also is a good way to move on to the FNAF 4 animatronics, the nightmare animatronics.
Mm-hmm.
This is another, sort of mystery or confusing subject of what actually are the nightmare animatronics as well, because people
around that, aren't there?
Yeah, the people say it's these illusion discs, which were also first in the. I think that was the twisted ones actually.
That was the twisted ones, yeah.
But you see in the private room in Sister Location with Ennard, there's all these like oxygen tanks or some sort of gas tanks or something.
Mm-hmm.
So people sort of led the two to, in the books it's illusion disc. It's like a little card or like a.
Yeah, it's like a plate. It's like a
key
little
card
plate,
or something like that. Yeah. And then in the games it could be like a gas. This sort of didn't really go anywhere in the end unless they're leading up to something big in the future.
Yeah, well that's maybe why they did the FNAF 4 house for Edwin's house. It's like a test facility within the house, so that they could maybe further develop that if they're planning to, because it's quite a big thing showing like the tanks and stuff not really going any further, unless it was because obviously Scott. We're sort of going off track here, but Scott obviously stated in Dorco's original live stream that he wanted to make it clear with like timelines and purpose in the future games from FNAF 4. So I think the only reason if they aren't to ever like go back on like the gas tanks and stuff was that the gas tanks was just to show what the nightmare animatronics were and how they're formed, like give a bit of like a purpose to them, like sort of just to be like these are so far off any animatronics we've ever seen. Why do they look like that?
I don't think it's too important really, since we know the main bit of the lore. That's just something that would be nice to get answered, I guess, but it doesn't really go anywhere when you really think about it. But I'm sure it's probably off something to do with remnants and stuff. But anyway, I hope we did go a bit off topic there, but I think remnants. You just got to think of it as like that's the game has made that up. That's not something you can actually.
Yeah, it's not a thing.
You can't actually explain it, but that's just the way
it's
this
just the
game.
game's version of possession, isn't it? That's what.
Yeah,
that's how something's possessed. It's using Remnant. Remnant's what keeps someone possessed. Agony is what keeps.
And to have Remnant, there needs to be agony, which is why murders. That's why these kids are all angry spirits and stuff. Because,
it couldn't just be someone that just died. Like you couldn't.
Yeah, that's probably why you see in Secret of the Mimic these dead bodies and stuff. Just probably torn to bits, and that's not what agony is about, really.
Yeah.
In Five Nights at Freddy's, it's like made off these dead kids in a pizzeria, on their birthday as well, stuff like that sort of thing.
Yeah, like when it's supposed to be their best day, it becomes their worst. So it's just even more so. Do you want to go on to the next?
Yeah.
Discussion?
I'll tell you that. But I hope that was a good enough explanation.
Remnant,
Yeah. All right. What was the next?
Well, we'll come back to the question just in a second. Right. I think it would be a good way to go on to the Mimic. Mm-hmm. Talking about Secret of the Mimic, we may as well go on to the significance of the ending. Do you want to start that just because it's sort of like you were building that theory prior to this video?
Right. So I'll start off with there may be some things that cancel this out. Mm-hmm. But it was just something I thought of, and I thought I may as well just mention it because it is quite interesting. But so obviously the Mimic, this is the earliest we've ever been in the story, and the Mimic's there, and we've seen him in Security Breach, so we know he has been around for the whole timeline.
Yeah,
but we don't know what he's been doing.
We've ever seen the game, isn't it? 1979 is the earliest we've ever played, other than the FNAF 8-bit mini games untitled.
But so there's this massive, let's just say 50 years. I can't be asked to do the math, but let's just say 50 years where we don't know what the Mimic's actually been doing.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And obviously we know through the books, before we even knew the Mimic in the games, the books told us that the Mimic learned off Edwin, to just be violent after obviously he started mimicking David. So he just started mimicking being violent, and that was pretty much the last we heard of that.
And then you put that onto the Fazbear and employees that tried to take Edwin's
clean
stuff,
up,
didn't they? Which is sort of similar to the game, but like at the same time, he hasn't got that soul violent tendency. Like obviously we hear. I'm sorry, we're sort of derailing off your theory, but just to clarify for people, so it sort of builds up the theory. We're sort of going off the idea that it's not exactly the same as the books.
Yeah.
But the game tries to hint similarities. So, for example, in the books, it's solely just violent, right? And because Edwin attacks the animatronic because he's mimicking David. The game tries to hint that with the voice note that we see in Edwin's office, where you hear that he destroys the legs.
Yeah.
However, we then hear that he then starts mimicking Edwin, having broken his legs. That's sort of hinting that he replicates the violence. But as we know, he's not aiming just to do violence, he's aiming to replicate people. Because if you look at it, his sole purpose wasn't to kill Edwin. Edwin wasn't dead. All he did was become Edwin. So anyway, let's go back onto that. So just to clear that up, the Mimic's not the same. The game tried to hint at it, hint at similarities and sort of make reference to the books, but the Mimic we see isn't just the sole violent Mimic. So do you want to go on to what we think could come from how it becomes the violent Mimic, at least what we see in Ruin?
Yeah. So if I'm pretty sure everyone's on the same page that the Parachute EXE ending is the canon ending, which I'm sure you've all seen as well. The ending, the Mimic, the car flips, the van flips, and instead the Mimic doesn't kill you, he just takes the data diver,
just walks
which
off.
Which is strange because throughout the whole game he's trying to kill you, and he's got you, and he don't care about you. He just wants the data diver. So he takes the data diver and just wanders off. You may end up dying. We don't know if you actually do die, but you don't see him kill you there. So he just wanders off. So that just made me think: how does he become this violent Mimic that the book and Ruin show he is? Because he leads Cassie down there purely to kill her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, weirdly enough, that's a child being lured down to be killed. And
that is a good thing as well. Yeah, so again, and there's 50-year gap where we don't know what the mimic's been doing, and the only other violent thing we know in Five Nights at Freddy's is obviously William Afton.
Mm-hmm.
So at some point, the mimic may have witnessed the murders of William Afton's murders, and that's where the mimic's got these tendencies from.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. It would just be a wild guess, like where and how he would have seen that. But that's the thing. If this new sort of story they're going down leads to the mimic has been in every single game, he's sort of been the animatronic sort of thing. It could have been any time he saw it, really. It would have had to have been
during the time period of the murders, obviously.
Yeah, so Fredbear's FNAF 2 sort of era.
Yeah.
So that's the time you were seeing it, which is only a few years after Secret of the Mimic. So even when he has these violent tendencies, if he's under the pizza, sorry,
No, keep going. That's all good.
But I think when you first find the mimic underneath the pizzaplex, I think Gregory then says he's been in there for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So if he's already been in,
that is Gregory, we don't know. But yeah,
let's just say that is Gregory. That means, let's just say a long time is like a few decades or something.
Mm-hmm.
He's been under there, which is actually under Pizza Sin, which is like when it all goes up in flames. That's sort of the end of the old Five Nights at Freddy's story, sort of.
Mm-hmm. It's been born,
so that's
born anew above it all.
Yeah. So there is still room for the mimic to have been in, FNAF 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, because the locations are the same, so it gives opportunity for that.
Just the location? Would he have anything to do with Ennard, maybe?
Yeah, he could be Ennard, like he could just be Ennard.
Something to do with Ennard. Right, I guess there's not really a suit to go in there.
Are we going off the fact that the mimic isn't the physical endoskeleton, it's the data inside? Is that what we're going off? Or is it the physical? Because we know it's not the same design in Ruin as it is in...
Yeah. But there's like 50 years between...
of course,
yeah. Just being the mimic, building himself up. But, the mimic in Ruin doesn't really look like he could mimic. Like, he's just wearing... When you get the... that secret ending and Ruin, he's not really like, he's just in the suit. He's not like become the sort of thing, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's true.
At the moment, you see,
he's
I think it's the
mimicking.
The dolly bit. He's ripped. Dolly was welded to the floor.
Yeah,
I saw
ripped them off. Yeah.
Ripped her off. Yeah, copied the feet and all that. And then when Dolly's all burning, you can actually. I think it's hard to see in game, but if you cheat or hack out the map or whatever, you can see the mimic escaped.
But like left out.
Yeah, do you know when Dolly's bashing on the elevator?
Yeah.
Above you. Yeah.
And it's like above, and you have to do the elevator stuff.
Yeah. You can actually. I think I don't know if you can really see it in game, but I know if you get a different camera angle, you can see the mimic. It obviously. It's not really meant to be fully seen.
Yeah, but you can still...
They've
done it purposely, haven't they?
They've done it purposely to see... He knows that this suit is, you can't inhabit that anymore, so he's left it.
So it shows us a proactive model, doesn't it? The way it's
it's basically like a human or something. That's something a human would do, really, isn't it? But that shows that the secret of the mimic is... he seems to be a lot more mimic than the Ruin mimic, but it's hard to tell if that's just sort of... We've seen it time and time again in FNAF where like Scrap Trap and Springtrap, they've changed. The model's been changed, but for no reason really.
Because I'm under the impression that the mimic is one of the traps. Is that people think he's Burn Trap, don't they? They think the mimic's Burn Trap.
Yeah. I don't know really how that works now we actually know sort of more about the mimic.
Plus, if he is burn trap, how's he trapped behind the brick wall like a year later?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Why is he not just mauling Vanny?
Again, unless he baited it. Unless, okay. Let's go with your theory, right? That he's watched William.
Yeah.
So he's been through the 50 odd years, like we said, of the original events. He's seen all of this stuff. He knows all the tricks. Knows how to bait all these people. Like we see, Cassie's another child that he lures out. He's got the data diver, right?
Yeah.
What if it's a double bluff? What if he's put MXES up, used it as like a safety wall, but he's not actually trapped? He's set a trap to make himself look like he's been freed when in fact he was free all along, and he's just got another kid. And then that could explain how MXES. Because what I'm confused at is how did MXES, which is obviously Fiona or the F10NA4 or whatever ON4, how did that? What I'm confused at, right, is the machine's the exact same.
Yeah.
Like, it's the exact same. Obviously, you could say they've they just didn't want to make a new design, right?
No, it's definitely the same.
It's so stupid if that is the case.
Yeah, no.
But it's clearly the same item, right? And we know what Fiona's cradle does, right? We know what it does. It reverts David back to David. And MXCS sort of traps it. So it's the cradle rather than the actual David protocol. But how's MXES come into play? One, how has MXES come into play, period, knowing the Mimic has it? Two, why is it set up like it's got like the Helpy that's like, or that like the help? Is it Helpy? Helper? Fuck, is
what in Secret of the Mimic?
No, in Ruin.
It's Helpy but with an I instead of like a Y. Yeah.
But then he's corrupted, isn't he, by like Glitchtrap or something? The question, like, so this is where it all comes together, right? So, Helpy gets corrupted. Yeah. So is the Mimic corrupted it? Is that what we're assuming?
I think so. The little image of Helpy pops up, and sometimes I think it's normal Helpy.
Yeah. And then it's like the decoded one where it's got like a crack in his head.
He's got like veins and his glasses are like cracked or something like that. Yeah. So I think how's he even talking to you through the mask?
Yeah, that's what makes me think.
It's impossible to know if this is like actually answerable, if it's just still didn't consider it.
What's confusing, right, is let's say William's body is in Burn Trap.
Yeah.
It could make sense. It would make sense, right, that the theory idea you built off that he witnessed all of William's stuff. He could be the Mimic could be Glitchtrap with decoding, right? There's no doubt in my mind that it's a very likely possibility that Glitchtrap is the Mimic, right? But what further suggests that? What was I going to say? It's gone right out of my head. I had a good point. What was that?
Glitchtrap or Helpy something like
that? Sorry, that's the point. So, say he is Glitchtrap.
Yeah.
And we're sort of saying how the old FNAF is being replaced by the new and all this sort of stuff. All these events now that are leading to whatever. Because they're clearly leading to something, because why have we done security breach in this time period without... There's no outcome from security breach, was there? Let's be real. There's more questions than answers.
The canon ending was the princess quest where you free Vanessa, but Vanny didn't really lead anywhere. So
no,
you sort of just freed. It was sort of just to free a useless character anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was odd, and then of course Ultimate Custom Night, which is like William Afton in purgatory, isn't it? He's sort of like trapped in hell. So let's say he's trapped in hell post Pizzeria Sim, which is pre-security breach, because we know security breach is built over the top. From that point on, Ultimate Custom Night, William isn't possessing anything. He's dying constantly. he can't physically be in possession of his body while also dying in this sort of mental hell. Right? So from that point on, the Mimic could have replaced said William Afton, which makes me think none of the spring like Glitchtrap Vanessa thing was ever actually William Afton. Because we know Glitchtrap's like coded William Afton, but so then if he's coded William Afton, who's to say the Mimic hasn't just put that into his system? So he's now possessing William Afton in a physical form from the coding made from William Afton anyway, so he's just finishing his job.
Yeah, that could be why he's shown the violent tendencies, isn't it, really? Yeah. So I don't see why not, but how would, for him, well, to be honest, there's no really evidence that because the burn trap ending was never canon.
No, yeah.
It may have just never
happened.
Yeah. Like, yeah, I mean, the location's obviously canon because you go past it in.
Well, Scott said burn trap was never supposed to move.
Yeah, you're supposed to like see him in
as like a carcass. Like a
corpse. Or like and it in the distance, and it would disappear or something, isn't it?
Yeah, not
like a bit like Golden Freddy
was. Hence why I think if he's doing that, right, if he is glitching like Golden Freddy, how weird. Who's keeping William in purgatory? Golden Freddy. So it's the internal conflict of Golden Freddy and William Afton battling, in a sense. So he's going to be glitching all over the place like Golden Freddy. That would explain that, and then that would further explain that the Mimic was Glitchtrap, not William Afton. Because William Afton was never presently there.
Yeah. I mean, if the Mimic to have mimicked Burn Trap, he would have had to have seen
William Afton,
SpringTrap, and and all that, which I don't. And if William Afton was locked in the like secret private room in FNAF 1 or whatever it was for 30 years, I don't see how the Mimic would have ever, and then he ended up at Fazbear Fright.
Yeah, so that's why I think the Glitchtrap being encoded into the Mimic, or the Mimic taking the Glitchtrap encoding. Yeah.
What happened to William Afton? He got killed by the kids in the secret boarded off room. Got moved to Fazbear Fright, get burned down, and then he went and found this new suit or whatever. That's a grey area, that bit where he turned into Scrap Trap. Then he's Scrap Trap, and then he's in Pizza Sim and it burns to the ground. And obviously now and that's when he's dead. He's died, but he was still around because of UCN and stuff. But he is dead. But he sort of lives on through this Glitchtrap thing.
That's the question. That's why I think they could do a DLC is explaining where the Glitchtrap was formed, like the coding. Yeah. Because end of the day, William died where the Mimic is trapped.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So where that all joins in, I think, is really important.
I wish you saw the FNAF 6 office in that area in Security Breach or Ruin or something.
Ruin, yeah.
Instead of this Burn Trap place, which is like really similar but not. You know what I mean?
It's the same but not, isn't it?
Where it's just like rooms connected to other rooms. Like
it's like the FNAF 4 house in Secret of the Mimic. It's the same but it's not. There's clear differences, but it's hinting at it, isn't it?
Yeah, it's hard because I think when you're in the Pizza Sim office, you can hear like kids laughing and talking as if the building is open. Like,
yeah, you can. Yeah.
So I think you're either above it or below it, where the office segment takes place. I'm not too sure, but if they show that area, because that could have shown a like a Burn Trap corpse on the ground.
Yeah,
that would have been perfect, really. I think. But yeah, I think that's the most likely option of all of this. It's just somehow the Mimic, and it would be cool to see. I don't know how they do it, since I don't think they'd be willing to show William Afton in like a human form.
Do you think they won't ever show William in the human form?
No, I don't see them doing it. I don't see Scott wanting to give William an actual like face. You know what I mean? I would love to see like William Afton and the Mimic, like, at some point seeing each other. That would be so cool. But I think if they were to ever do that, they would do Spring Bonnie more. They would show Spring Bonnie meeting. Yeah. You might see his eyes or something.
I'd like to see like a Glitchtrap, but Spring Bonnie, sort of like you're saying, like where he's in the suit, but like that clear detail where you actually see the full body. Like you can sort of see the face and stuff, can't you? See the head shape and all that sort of stuff. And it'd be cool to see that, like, see the Mimic's perspective of William's murder, or so, you know, like something, or like William luring the kids.
Like the ending in The Secret of the Mimic, the bad ending where you're in the mask and you see the Mimic standing there. Imagine being in like a POV like that. And
what do you think that ending means?
Witnessing the murders. The bad ending.
Yeah. Because what I'm confused about, right, is you're stuffed in the suit, and this is the time when it's spring-locked suits, isn't it? So a person could actually be in that. Is that what we're assuming?
I don't know about.
Not the Freddy though, no. Unless you're in the Fredbear that you can wear. You know, you have to put it on so you can do the sensors.
FNAF 1 animatronics aren't spring-lock animatronics.
But that Fredbear was never finished. The one that was finished was...
I think the head you're supposed to be looking through is supposed to be Freddy, the FNAF 1 Freddy.
Yeah. Oh, right, the finished FNAF 1 Freddy.
Yeah, but I think they just used... I think they just used like Fredbear there because they had a Fredbear like head inside of a head already, if you know what I mean. So I think they just used that, which I could be wrong because they don't actually show like FNAF 1 Freddy's like head really, other than that massive one. But I think they just used that for that. So I don't know really. I think that might have just been a way for them to just. It must have a reason though, isn't it? Because they would have just ended it when the Mimic like is in the back of your truck.
In the car,
yeah. They would just end it there. So I think it could just be to show that this thing where these animatronics stuff you into these suits has just been programmed in them since the start. Something like that.
Or the Mimic caused them to do that.
Yeah, but then that would mean all the animatronics have this Mimic programming, or at least a slight bit of it in them.
Well, unless William and Henry tried to replicate M2, like they said they couldn't, and then that ends up being in
the data diver. If they get hold of the data diver and rebuild the FNAF 1 animatronics off that, then they would actually be stuffing people into suits. That could work, I suppose. If the next game over shows this data diver got into Fazbear Entertainment's hands somehow, then that could explain it.
I think it really just needs a DLC to sort of explain which way.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if they're gonna do anything, they won't do a sequel. They'll do a prequel DLC. It'll be the full fest through Fiona's perspective.
That is the thing. It's either going to be full fest or where the Mimic went after.
And I think they'll do a game rather than a DLC for after.
They have set themselves up quite well because they have like the continuation of Ruin. That's a whole game they can do.
Security Breach 2.
Yeah, they have Full Fest, which it could either be a game or a DLC. Most likely a DLC.
And then they've got the follow-up.
I'm guessing they probably do I don't think they do 2 DLCs. So I'm guessing they do a game.
Do you reckon they'd ever show the original murders? Because we've never seen that in game form. Like 1985. They could do like Five Nights at Freddy's, the grand opening or something. That'd be so cool. And then we see like 85.
I don't think. I think the most they do is that you hear it, maybe.
Yeah.
Because
the thing is, they've got 8 years before FNAF 2. Like, they've got 8 years worth of time period that they could do anything that doesn't really affect the law.
Wasn't FNAF 2 1983?
Oh shit! FNAF 4. Doing.
FNAF 4, sorry, yeah. Well, then.
So that's 4 years then. They've still got a while.
Or 4 years between Secret of the Mimic and the Fun Time animatronic does not sound right at all.
Nah.
It's so weird to think about. Yeah, 4 years. You got Secret of the, you got the Mimic and all these, the elephant suit, this tiger suit, and then you have the Fun Time animatronic, the baby and bloody hell, Ennard.
Yeah.
God. Yeah, they're going to give them. I think they're going to make the Mimic be a really. I think he's going to be there all along. Mm-hmm. I think that's what they're going to do. And depending on how they do it, I don't really see a problem in that.
Yeah,
if they don't
rewrite everything.
Yeah, if they do it like a Dream Theory sort of thing, where everything we knew is just the Mimic, then I think that'll be a bit annoying. But if they show he's been in the background sort of thing, that'd be cool.
It'd be interesting, right? If they keep it so William did murder in 1985.
Yeah,
the Mimic did some of the other stuff that it's more like. So the thing is though, like 1985, it'd be cool if the Mimic was the Bite of 87 or something, like like something stupid like that. One like Unsolved stuff, like or the Mimic was inside Fredbear that led to clamping it. Like something that just like it was like a cog in the machine of FNAF rather than like replacing the events.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. Yeah, something like that would be. I'd like that because that doesn't really change anything, but just cool to.
Yeah, because like say Dream Theory 3 or like the dream element. Obviously, Scott was clearly hinting at that with all like the what a child sees in the dark is, or what you see in the dark is changed by misunderstood by the eyes of a child or something. He was obviously going for the idea that it was a dream or like a comatose state. But then since then, obviously, FNAF 4, you're not playing as the Crown Child, are you? You're playing as Michael in the test centre sort of thing, which further just changes that completely. But if it wasn't retconned, I reckon the box would have been all of like the FNAF stuff. So like I reckon it would have been like maybe the Chica's beak. Probably something from FNAF 1 that's significant to that. I don't know what was significant, like element wise, maybe for the telephone.
I think Scott shows. It's in that. Is it called like Fury, something like that? Fazbear Fury, something like that? It's like the security.
Yes.
It's when he's got delayed.
Yeah. Fazbear's, Freddy's Fury. Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah, there's like a snake
game.
Yeah. There's like a snake that has the FNAF 4 box in it, and then coming out of it is a little toy Chica without a beak. I think there's like a grandfather clock, a bunch of like ball pit balls, stuff like that, and I think that probably was what was going to be in it, because the time was the box added at the Halloween update, or was it in the game from the start?
Game from the start, I believe.
So, and
because did people think it would be answered in the Halloween update? It was released in July, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think people thought that was how you were going to open the box or something like that. But it was 1,000,000% a dream, because there was those Easter eggs when you turn around to look at the bed and there's like the vase with like flowers in it and the drip, the IV drip. Yeah, and all stuff like that. I think there was like meds on the table as well, something like that.
And the flat line monitor, you could hear the beep, beep.
Yeah, that was in the when you beat the night or something in the mini game. Stuff like that. Like it was 1,000,000% going to be a dream. But if people think the Dream Theory sort of contents are in that box, I don't. Scott wouldn't have thought, let's not talk about the Dream Theory whilst releasing the game, like with the story being the Dream Theory.
Yeah, unless he sort of like my saga's closed, it is a dream, and now let's continue it through this, filling the gaps. The Mimic does do all this stuff, but it's not William, it's not all this. Like they can still do that. I don't know if people would like that. I don't think I would, but they could still be like, we are keeping to what Scott wanted, we are keeping it as a dream, but doesn't mean events didn't happen, and now we can retell it how it actually happened. The Mimic killed all these people, pretended to be William, all this, like, they've got a lot of options if they wanted to, you know. William gets framed. William never actually did anything. He's a mourning father that didn't actually kill anyone. You know,
but, yeah, but that would mean Springtrap and all that isn't real either.
No, yeah, I understand, but I'm just saying, they've got opportunities to like sort of be like, actually, this happened because of the Mimic, not. Yeah. Is there anything else you've written down that we should go over?
I'll just quickly finish off with that dream theory. Is that it was? I'm 99% sure that at FNAF 4, if after FNAF 4 you said you did a theory video and said it's all a dream, you'd be correct.
Yeah.
Because the what's in what in the eyes of a child is misunderstood. That explains why in FNAF 2 you see the shadow on animatronics, is because that's still just the kid is just sort of like put those two together sort of thing. It's like if you, I don't know, were doing something all of the day, you'd probably fall asleep and have a dream about that thing.
Yeah, it's in your mind.
It was 1,000,000% that. So that would mean the only real bit would have been Fredbear's.
But because that's where the move dream theory, right? Is how is he perceiving like an office, unless he just recognises it from Fredbear's. But like the offices are different. Yeah,
I know what you mean, but I think that's
just for the game rather than the law.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think in FNAF 1 Scott would have thought, isn't it? This is all going to be a dream. I think he just it's just sort of like a plot hole sort of thing. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the dream theory.
Is it worth me answering the question?
Let's go back to the questions.
So we had one more question. Obviously, we did the Midnight Motorist video, which I just want to say thank you to everyone that's watched that, because it's actually done really well for us. Gained us a lot of subscribers, and talking about subscribers, if you are watching this and you're not subscribed, please do. It helps us a lot.
But even if you just watched this far into it, you know, we really appreciate it, because seeing a new channel with not too many subscribers, you probably think, it's probably not worth the time. So yeah, if anyone does actually watch this far, thank you very much. We really do appreciate it.
Yeah, it does make a difference. The subscribers, it really does. It helps a lot more than you realise. But anyway, talking about a viewer that did leave a question, which we're always happy to answer. They asked 3 questions. I've answered 2 of those, but I'll quickly go over it. So they said great theory, which again, thank you for that. They said 3 things. 1, they don't believe it's Chica's party world. They think it's actually Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria. I think 100% it could be that. I think it could be either or. You know, I think William's definitely come from somewhere to Fredbear's. I think Junior's is Fredbear's family diner, like the diner, right? And I think Susie's died at somewhere else, and where else has Fredbear got like a license? The Pizzeria or Chica's Party World, if they did expand that beyond. Because obviously Scott's forever tried to push that Chica's like a separate entity to like the original ones, because everyone's always like, oh, Henry made Chica, Henry.
Even with Funtime Chica as well. Yeah, she's always sort of been like pushed to the side.
Yeah, exactly. So I think 100% it could either be Pizzeria, Freddy's Pizzeria, or Chica's Party World. Secondly, you ask who's the person in grey. If it's Michael that's escaping the room, well, obviously the crying child.
It's in Midnight Motorist as well.
Midnight Motorist, yeah. Crying child's dead, so that's not him. Not William, because you're playing as William. Not Michael, because he's the one that's left the room or left the house. So I think if I'm being honest, everyone suspected it was the mum at first, and I still think it is. I don't think there's much more to go into that. I think you sort of see it as face value. I don't think there needs to be any lore surrounding that. I think it's probably just a grieving mother after the loss of her son. Because it depicts someone grey, someone like sort of low. I know they look bold, but like I don't think there was just any detail to that. I think it was just to make them look like they're grieving. I don't know if you think any more on that, but like I think it's just the mum.
I think it's nearly impossible to answer that, really.
Yeah.
I don't think it's the mum, because they just haven't showed her at all.
But then again, who else would it be?
That's what I mean. I don't know who else it could have been.
I don't think it has a lot of importance. You know, I don't think that's. I don't think that's something that's going to significantly change.
Not knowing, but
yeah.
I don't.
I think if we were told it was the mum, I don't think anyone would shrug. Like, I don't think anyone would care. You know, I don't think it'd be like, oh, whoa, so it is the mum. Yeah. You know, I think it's one of those things that you can believe who it is. I think the main things to take from Midnight Motorist is William is the orange guy, and Michael is the one that's broken out of the house. I think they're the two things that matter. Whereas whoever's the person in the chair doesn't necessarily matter. Because I feel like if whoever you were told that was, I don't think it'd really make a difference. Unless it was suddenly someone like Henry Emily's family, and then you're not actually believing Henry Emily.
Or it was the mimic or something.
Yeah. And then finally, they asked what the significance this theory has on the Give Life. Was it the Give Life?
Give life, yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to explain how this would have a significance on that?
Yeah, I think it is sort of hard to pinpoint it, but it's sort of it is easy to think that Charlotte, or no?
Mm-hmm. Charlie.
Yeah, Charlie. She was it's easy to think that she was the first person who died, the first murder. But I think we hear the voice lines in UCM.
Yeah, from
Chica saying she was the first. And then in Help Wanted 2, we got the gravestones that give you the order of the murders.
As well as Pizza Sim, we see the graves as well.
Yeah, but I don't know if that... I think that gives you the names. I don't think that gives you the order.
But that shows that they were around the same time. They don't know that they were all...
Oh, yeah, something like that. But I think it pretty much just shows that... So when Freddy, Foxy, Chica, Bonnie and all that died, they were dead. They died. But they were still, like, they were still angry and all this agony and the remnants and stuff. But I think Charlie was the first one that, like, you see the puppet crawling out. She possesses that. The puppet. I think the puppet was the first to ever be possessed.
Yeah,
but not the first murder.
Remnant. Yeah, not the first to die. Yeah.
Yeah, probably because that was the first one that had like a lot of agony fueled into it. Probably because you see, they've shown that one more than any other murder. I think where she's out the window.
The significance is there. The hatred through William's there. Like there's a purpose for that murder.
Well, she's already obviously not having a good day. She's not being let into the place. All the kids are laughing at her through the window. And then, William comes along and kills her.
Yeah, not great.
So, you think how much, agony and pain and all that is in that. You got the puppet pretty much on top of her when she's dead. So, that goes straight to the puppet. The puppet's possessed and then possesses, the Chica, Bonnie, Foxy and Freddy.
Uses their agony. Sort of transfers what she learned or has the power of, and puts that into the animatronics, doesn't she? So I still think, like you said. Sorry, I'm just sort of going back onto it. But how the puppet was the first to use possession or use remnant. Susie was the first to die. We know that.
Yeah.
We know they're all stuffed in the animatronics. They probably witnessed it all. From the animatronic, regardless if they're possessed or not. Say they're not possessing the animatronic, but their souls still live on. They still would have witnessed all the stuff that happened, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think the theory of Midnight Motorist impacts that minigame necessarily, because the puppet's still possessed. The puppet has the power to use possession, and therefore the puppet can still use possession. I don't think it really makes a difference if Susie was the one to die in Midnight Motorist later that night to impact the rest, because just because she died first doesn't mean, like you said, she's possessed first. I don't think it really implicates, I don't think there's any implications negatively on that necessarily in comparison to if you take it as Charlie was later that night. So I don't think if it was Charlie or Susie that died in the events of Midnight Motorist it impacts either.
Yeah. Well, just quickly, this will only be a quick thing with Midnight Motorist. We already know, it's the night after, whatever. He's killed someone, he drove home. The only real mystery about it that means something is why is there an animatronic footstep and who's left? and who's gone to that place again or whatever.
Yeah.
That's sort of the only thing. We know everything else. Yeah, we know the orange guy's William Afton. We know he just murdered someone or something and drove up.
Yeah, everything else is clear. That's why I made the point on emphasizing that
The mother doesn't really.
The importance of Susie dying that night means none of the other 5 are dead. Of the 4,
Yeah.
So you've not got Bonnie, Foxy, Freddy, and Golden Freddy, which means that Cassidy isn't possessing Golden Freddy, which means he's not spazzing and sort of crazy. Which means that's why I think Michael's been led to Junior's, which is Fredbear's, which is where the Crying Child died, and the Crying Child's possessing Golden Freddy before Cassidy also possesses it. So therefore, the animatronics outside were Fredbear's, leading Michael to that place again. That place again being the Crying Child's death place, being Fredbear's Junior's. I think that's the only way we can really explain it, knowing that it's Michael that's left. Obviously, you kill off other people and you had no idea. But I think if it's Michael, Susie dying first clears. I think that's another point. Sorry, just going back onto that. Susie dying first and Susie being the murder of the later that night clears up the rest of Midnight Motorist. Where if it's Charlie, it doesn't really clear up the rest of the events. That's why it's so easy to put the pieces together for the theory if it was Susie that died that night, because you can then base it off the rest of the ones that haven't died yet. Whereas if Charlie died first, all the other ones are dead and arguably not possessed yet because Charlie hasn't done it, but in the sense that they're already dead. So that means Cassidy's also in Golden Freddy, which means regardless if he's possessed, it wouldn't be the same. So it's just one of those things. But I think we've covered quite a few things today. I think we've done quite a lot. Is there anything else you want to bring up before?
We've got the Night Marionette plushies.
Oh, 100%.
Still, I don't know if we should leave that for another one.
We could do that for the next episode because there's quite a lot to go over. That's the only thing. So there's a hint at a next episode unless people give us any ideas. The importance of the night marionettes, or nightmares now as they're known. But again, like we said earlier, thank you for the support recently. It really does mean a lot. And if you did enjoy this, make sure to like and subscribe, and leave in the comments what you want us to do next, because it was quite fun reading the comments and being able to know what we're actually doing a video on. Obviously, there's a lot to do on FNAF, but like having specific things to like target makes the videos a lot easier to like run smoother rather than us having to sort of like plan it all. Not that we have a problem planning it, but it gives us a bit more of like we limit what our notes are and we can sort of specifically target those areas. But I've really enjoyed this episode. I think we've done quite a lot.
It's great.
So thank you guys for watching, and
thank you.
until the next one, see ya.